Do you think this is really where we are? And it applies to much more than just the trans issue, which is we've just, for some reason, I don't really understand why, I've decided that the point of all aspects of society is to do social engineering. The police is not about policing crime, it's about social engineering. Civil service is not about running the country, it's about social engineering. Comedy is not about making jokes, it's about social engineering. Every aspect of our society now, wherever you look, it seems to be that social engineering is the number one priority, and the actual function of that organization seems to be secondary, at the very least.
If I believed in massive conspiracy theories and I was China, right, I'd love this right now, wouldn't you? You just place all these little things like, oh, let's not help them think about like long-term financial solutions that are going to make the poorest in the country more wealthy. Let's not do that. Let's make them all talk about gender. Let's make them all talk about racism. Let's do that. I just... If they found a troll farm that was more deadly than COVID, I wouldn't be surprised. I just think that kind of is the only thing that really does make sense, that the information war is upon us. And loads of these things, they're not real issues, are they?
No.
A real issue is not being able to buy a house in your like mid-20s or 30s. I just talked to a lovely taxi driver. My parents were both manual workers. They got married as teenagers. Within 3 years of being married, and they had 2 children by then, living with my grandmother, they could afford a house. And like my dad literally sorted sheepskins they both did very well. They both worked really hard. And my mother cleaned offices because she had small children. They could buy a house. When I was a little girl, teachers were well off. They were the people in the nice houses and the brand new estates. They had big houses. Now, I think that's the whole replacement thing. That if you think about these kind of ethereal, ideological things, you're not really thinking about, actually, my life's pretty bad. I've got no control. I'm never going to be able to afford to buy a house. I'm never going to be able to leave this job. My rent is so high, which means I can't save for a deposit. All of those things are really, really important. They make a difference. Workers' rights. So in this country, we've got the Equality Act, and I was looking into it to see whether or not we should just totally get rid of it and start again and have separate, like a Disability Rights Act, for example, because I think that really is important. Just to go on a tangent, trains may be emblazoned with pride flags, but most people with disabilities have to plan a journey like months in advance to make sure that there's someone to meet them. And half the stations you can't even get off a train onto a platform. Nobody cares about that. It's much better to talk about the minority rights of LGBT people, which I have no idea what rights those people don't have in this country. And now I've forgotten where I've gone with my tangent.
Well, actually, you were making, I think, what is a very profound point, which is all of these distractions and the conversations we have about all of these issues, which are much more intellectual than practical, are a way of giving us all something to chew on mentally and to try and control in a world in which we increasingly control less and less, have less and less, particularly for young people, opportunities that they see in front of them going forward. So if you can't control your job, you can't control your housing, you can't control your prospects, but you can control your gender. And by the way, if you start talking about it quite a lot, you're going to get attention, you're going to get positive reinforcement. If you do it on social media, you might become a mini celebrity in that world, etc. And it's all a distraction. So should we stop talking about it?
Well, we could, but the unfortunate thing is it now has practical consequences.
Right.
And so I think it did start off as something like a few people talking about it online, and it blew up. And then the shame of it all, the thing that killed it is when the state got involved. So in 2004, when we made a legal fiction, which was basically to cover up the fact that we were homophobes and we didn't want gay people to marry, same-sex couples to marry, then we invented this GRA and this Gender Recognition Act, and the lovely David Lammy was instrumental. And Norman Tebbit said, are we really creating an act in which women will be... have XY chromosomes and men will have XX. This is a fiction. This is not true. And Anne Widdecombe, I think she also spoke against it. conviction politicians, what happened to them? And so it's that's the bit that's ruined it, because you can have fringe people that kind of think that gender is something ethereal and we can just do whatever we like, and isn't that great? And yeah, people have always had crazy ideas. We just didn't have a state that stepped in and gone, oh yeah, that's right, let's teach it in schools.